Hi folks, Eagles beat reporter Mike Kaye here for NJ.com. The Philadelphia Eagles acquired safety Rudy Ford from the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for defensive tackle Bruce Hector on Thursday, prior to their preseason game against the Baltimore Ravens at Lincoln Financial Field. The Eagles made this move. It's one of their signature trades, player for player. They were going to cut Bruce Hector. The Cardinals were probably going to cut Rudy Ford, who was drafted by a former coach. In 2017, he was a sixth-round pick. The Auburn alum is known for his special teams ability. He played 66% of the Cardinals' special team snaps last year, and then before that, as a rookie, he played 35% of the special team snaps. Now, he's only played 62 snaps total in 23 career games, so he's known specifically for special teams. That will be his primary duty in Philadelphia. When you look at the Eagles' safety depth chart, they've got Malcolm Jenkins, who plays on special teams, but he's important to that defense. You've got Rodney McLeod, who plays some special teams, but he's also important at free safety, also recovering from an ACL injury. Then you have Andrew Zendejo, who will have a role on special teams, but he will primarily be the third safety in big nickel situations. And then Jonathan Cyprien, who's going to be a Swiss Army knife for the defense, a backup dime linebacker, a backup strong safety. He'll kind of hover around where Malcolm Jenkins would normally play, but Malcolm Jenkins normally doesn't leave the field, so his role is kind of up in the air. And then you have competing behind all of those guys who are all 29 or older. You've got DeAndre Hall, who's entering his fourth season, Trey Sullivan, who's entering his third season, Rudy Ford, who's entering his third season, and then Trey Elston, who's been around for a little bit as well. Now, when you look at the dynamic of that group, when you have four safeties who are over the age of 29, you need a young pup kind of behind them to kind of learn and kind of develop, and also provide some balance on special teams. Now, the Eagles are known for bringing in safeties just primarily to play special teams. Colt Anderson, Chris Maragos, DeAndre Hall last year. Those guys aren't going to see a lot of snaps on defense because of the depth at safety, but they will provide importance in the game's third phase. Now, when you look at the linebacker depth in front of the safety position, that's a spot where Jonathan Cyprien can help out and kind of provide some depth there. Maybe at weak side linebacker if they suffer some injuries to Nathan Gary or Zach Brown. Right now they've got Camus Grugier-Hill sidelined with a knee injury, and Bradham is working his way back from a foot injury. So Cyprien seems like the logical fourth safety. Now, if they keep five and Ford is that fifth guy, that will be pretty telling because, DeAndre Hall has special teams experience. Trey Sullivan has special teams experience. Sullivan actually had a great game against the Chicago Bears in the wild card round of the playoffs last year. But he hasn't done a lot to stick out this offseason. Training camp, he just produced a pick during joint practices against the Ravens, but really hasn't been a guy that you would see taking the next step. Now, with them trading Bruce Hector, you got to look at the defensive tackle depth and say, well, he never had a shot at the roster anyway. Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, and Timmy Jernigan are going to highlight that group. And then you've got a great battle between Hassan Ridgeway and Trayvon Hester for that fourth defensive tackle spot. They might keep five at that position, too, with Hester and Ridgeway, who have both impressed the coaching staff. They also have Kevin Wilkins, who seems poised for the practice squad after having a really decent training camp. So, overall, they didn't need the defensive tackle depth. They end up bringing in Ford, who can provide some special teams upside and competition for DeAndre Hall and Trey Sullivan. Trey Elston's probably on the outside looking in. But right now, with these last two preseason games remaining, the Eagles have a nice competition for that fourth and fifth safety spot. Cyprien seems like he's pretty comfortable in the roster race. We'll see where it goes from there. For all of our Eagles coverage, including coverage of the Rudy Ford trade, turn to the sports section of NJ.com.